Hi, everybody. Oh my gosh. I'm having technology issues today. I'm so sorry about that. I didn't even realize that I got dropped off of the live, but hopefully you're hanging on. If not, you'll catch the replay on this. And we're going to keep on going. I had just been talking about resistance and resistance archetypes. And we were just about to go into our assessment around resistance. So first question that I had asked, how often are you able to identify that your client has stepped into resistance? Now, this may seem like a simple question at first, but I want you to really think about it for a moment, because a lot of times what happens for practitioners is that our client has gone into resistance, and it's like, we're like a deer caught in headlights. We don't realize that it's resistance. We either think that there's really something like we've done something wrong. For example, if the client goes, it's a resistance archetype, or if the client goes into the confused one, they get really confused. Sometimes as practitioners, we think, oh, I just have to explain that more, and then the client will get it. No, that's not it. They've actually gone into fear, and their response to fear is to be confused, right? So how often are you able to identify, when it happens in the session that your client has actually stepped into resistance? Next question, what happens to your own level of poise and groundedness and connectedness when you encounter the various manifestations of the resistance archetype? So when your clients go into the victim, when your clients go into the judge, when your clients go into the needy one or the confused one or the know-it-all, what happens to your level of poise and groundedness and connectedness as a practitioner? Do you stay present with them? Do you stay curious? Do you stay open-hearted? Or do you kind of devolve into your own triggers and your own resistance? What can oftentimes happen is when you're not checking yourself and you don't have the tools, your client will go into a resistance archetype like the victim, and then all of a sudden you, the practitioner, your judge, will come out at them, right? So what happens to your level of poise and groundedness and connectedness when you encounter the resistance archetype in a client? All right, next question. One key to really navigating client resistance is for you as the practitioner to be consistently working on your own resistance archetypes. We do this a lot in Sacred Depths. When I teach about resistance archetypes and how to handle it with clients, I take you through your own journey with your own resistance archetypes, because it's not enough to just handle the client's archetypes, right? The client's resistance. You need to always be having your resistance in check. So that being said, how would you rate the attention and the focus and inner work that you've done for yourself in this area? So in other words, first of all, let's even start here. What are some of the common resistance archetypes that you yourself fall into? I know I'm prone to the victim. What about you? The judge, the victim, the needy one, the confused one, the flake, the know-it-all. Maybe your resistance archetype, here's another common one, is the spiritual one, which is basically like to spiritual bypass. Everything is okay, right? I don't want to look at the dark side of things kind of thing, right? So what's your most common resistance archetype or manifestation? And how much have you been really kind of tracking yourself on that and doing inner work around it? And you guys, I'm sorry, I'm having tech issues today. I can't see any of your comments or who's on the live. I will definitely be looking and reading afterwards, but I can't comment in real time. I'm having strange technology issues. Next question. What are the skills and tools that you use to help your clients navigate out of their resistance? And are those tools successful? So what are the tools that you use to help clients out of resistance? Get clear on them. You write them down. What are the things that you do? It's really good to kind of take a survey of that. And then how effective are those tools? We want our resistance tools or navigating resistance tools to be in tip-top shape, right? Because here's the thing is when a client goes into resistance, which is a symptom of fear, but it's much harder than fear. It's like it's more embedded and it can get them stuck for way longer. If we as practitioners don't know how to help them navigate through the resistance, sometimes what can happen is it can bring the work with the clients to a halt. You know, they can just check out, they can decide it's not worth their time, etc. Right? So we want to make sure that the skills that we have for supporting clients to navigate resistance are in tip-top shape. So what are some of the strategies and skills that you use when it happens, you know, when you know that a client is in resistance, and how are those working? How effective are they? Take a moment with that. All right. And then last question for resistance and resistance archetypes. What would be different for you and in your confidence level, in your client work, and in your business if you knew that you could handle any resistance archetype that came up in client sessions, right? You knew that you could handle you know, if people got confused. You knew that you could handle if they got so deeply mired in their judgment of you or in their judgment of themselves. What would be different in your business, in your client work, in just your sense of self if you knew that you could handle, you know, when clients go into the needy one and they, you know, they constantly email you, you know, 10 times a day. Like you knew that you could handle that and move them out of that situation. Or the victim, right? Where they just become so completely helpless and feel like they have no agency to move towards their goals. Take one more moment with that. So as we've been looking at, you know, when your clients' toughest situations come up, when their fiercest resistance comes up, when their most entrenched fears come up, if you aren't practiced in it, it will push your own buttons, right? The buttons of I'm not good enough, or I'm worried she's angry at me, or I'm worried I'm not helping enough. And of course, those buttons are there because of either our own authoritarian parents or stuff that happened on the playground in elementary school, or just all of those internal tapes and messages of not enoughness, you know, of you're a fraud, all of that, right? And then that spills into our businesses too, when we market, when we go to be visible. So if this is something that you would like to really become masterful at, if this is something that you'd like to become more effective at, just really being able to handle any of the toughest situations, any of those worst case client studies, any of the resistance, I'd love to talk to you more about it. It might be that Sacred Depths is exactly what you need right now. Some of you might know that the early bird rate on Sacred Depths is ending tomorrow. There's a very, very generous discount until then. And I put Sacred Depths together to really train practitioners to be able to handle any situation that comes their way. And not only handle it, but turn it into gold for the client, right? Because when the resistance comes up, there's the most golden opportunities there. We just need to know how to do it. And, like, as I said earlier, this is, I think, the #1 marketing tool. But that being said, I also provide a lot of marketing training in Sacred Depths too, because I know you need that as well. So I'm gonna pop a link in if you want to have a conversation with me or someone on my team. Most likely it'll be someone on my team because I've got a kid at home quarantining right now. We found out someone in her pod has COVID, and so I'm kind of doing double duty. But you'll speak to Inbal or Caitlin. It's no strings attached conversation. It's a really deep conversation. They'll really hold space for you to take a look at what's going on with your client work, what's going really well, what you could be doing differently in some client situations. And even if things are going really, really well, but it's like, sometimes I hear from experienced practitioners is like, things are great, but I don't know how it happened, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to reproduce that again, right? That's a reason to think about going deeper with the training as well, right? So anyway, I'll pop that link in the comments below. I'd love for you to set up a call with them, take a look at what's going on, and I can't wait to read all the comments on these 2 lives. I'm sorry for all of the technology stuff that was going on today. Hopefully you got what you needed, and I'll see you tomorrow. We're gonna do one more assessment. Have a great day.